So hi, I'm here with Jess, and Jess is a strengths coach, and I've worked with Jess before on my Clifton's strength test, which is something that we'll dig deeper into today. So Jess, did you want to give us a bit of a bio on who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's a little bit different to the last time we caught up where we were sitting at a cafe and having a nice coffee, but this is still better than nothing. So I run a training and consulting company called Human Tribe, which is all about human performance in the workplace. So we very much believe that when people thrive, businesses thrive. So we're all about, well, what can we do for the individuals and the teams within an organization, or for people who run their own organizations, and understanding how can we impact the people to help the organization do better overall, or help the people do better, and then as a happy end result, the organization does better overall as well. So that's kind of the area that I play in.
That's awesome. So for me, I guess when I met with you last time, I was planning on launching Unicorn Club, and I had exited my last business, and I'd done my strengths test on a website called gallup.com, and it's called the Clifton Strengths Test. Do you want to just tell us about that tool and just what it does and what it's used for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the tool is developed by Gallup. It's based on positive psychology. So essentially the idea of focusing on what's right rather than trying to fix what's wrong. Quite often we're at school, you're not good at maths, you have to get a maths tutor, and you have to spend heaps of time working on your weaknesses and becoming well-rounded. But not often do we stop and go, what am I really good at, and how can I find the time and effort to really understand that and invest in it? So the tool that you're talking about, Tania, it measures talent in 34 themes, and the concept behind it is all around that idea of positive psychology.
And so I did my strengths test, and I wasn't very happy because it didn't come up with the strengths that I was expecting or wanting. So you and I did a bit of a session, and I must say I came out of that feeling a lot better, because my strengths came up as responsibility, deliberative, significance, consistency, restorative, and it all seemed so safe. And I thought, well, where's all my sort of strategic thinking, and where's my activator, and how am I ever going to make it as an entrepreneur if I don't have the right strengths, and can I change them? And the answer is no, you can't. You've got to learn to work with what you've got and dig deep into your toolbox. So Jess, you gave me some great advice in terms of how to map my strengths together, so that if you don't have strategy, for example, you can match up your other strengths to make sure that sort of makes up for it. Is that kind of what? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if I can go back to a point that you just made, you're already an entrepreneur, and it was so funny that upon running this report, you went, whoa, hang on a second, does that mean I'm not going to be a good entrepreneur? We are who we are, and that's okay. And all this report does is puts it to some words we might have thought of before in association with that, other words we mightn't have. But a conversation that we had, Tania, is the report shouldn't tell you anything you didn't know about yourself. The aim is to bring it to your awareness. And when we become more aware of it, we can work, we can work out how to leverage them as effectively as possible. So if anyone does go and do their strengths and like Tania, you're a little bit surprised at what comes out, you are who you are, and that's okay. And everything that you've done before and everything that you're doing, you've done because of your strengths, not in spite of them. And I think that's a really important point to recognize. And then in terms of, putting them together as those superpowers, absolutely. And that's one of the benefits that comes. There's 2 reports that you can do. There's the top 5 and the all 34. And it's so funny, human nature, we run the full report, and even though it's strengths, everyone goes straight to the bottom of the report. It's like, I know what I'm good at, let me see what comes at the bottom. And it's that conversation around, something's got to be number 1 and something's got to be number 34. We can't all be good at everything. And generally speaking, it's just about what comes naturally and what brings us energy and drains our energy. So, the conversation we had, Tania, was the stuff at the top of the report comes naturally, brings us energy. Stuff at the bottom of the report, it takes more effort and it drains us more, but it doesn't mean that we can't do any of it. And the idea of sort of reframing it to go, I'm not this, but I can still achieve that outcome, it's really powerful, because you can look at the bottom of the report and go, I'm not strategic, but I've got these strengths. And if I put them together, they can like superpower up to equal strategic. So yeah, I think that was a big part of the conversation we had.
Yeah, it was. And it was actually such a great chat, because it basically just reinforced for me again that if you really want to do something, just bloody well do it. Don't worry about all the other stuff, because somehow you'll figure it out. And yeah, it brings me back to that Marie Forleo book, Everything is Figure Outable. You have all these things in your toolbox, and it's all about how you use them. Yeah. So that was really interesting.
Just then when you said that, it made me think of the quote when you were saying it'll all be okay in the end. And it's, I don't know who said it, but it's it'll all be okay in the end, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. And it's kind of that idea. There's always something more that we can do, rather than resting at, oh, that didn't go well, guess I've got to do something now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was reading something yesterday as well about leadership, and somebody also said something about leadership is not your title, it is how you show up for people. And that is also a very important thing to remember and understand as an entrepreneur. You have to show up as the person that you want other people to see you as, and not be full of self-doubt and think about yourself in a certain, you've got to basically dress for success. I
think as well on that self-doubt piece, and I'm pulling this out because so there's a theme called significance, and not significance, self-assurance. And self-assurance comes quite low in my report, and it's just being able to back yourself, having that inner compass where you're like, I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to go with this, I'm going to back myself, and I feel confident about that. And my self-assurance sits quite low, and I think it doesn't mean I can't do what I do. It's, again, that idea of I'm not naturally this, and it's okay to feel that, but I'm going to push past it anyway. I'm going to make the decision to push past it and tap into what I am good at, so that I can still achieve the outcomes, even if there is that part of self-doubt, or that part where you don't feel like you can always back yourself.
Yeah. And that goes hand in hand with imposter syndrome, where, we all often think, well, who am I to start a business, or who's going to think that I'm the expert in my field? And naturally, you don't always want to make this a gender thing, but naturally women tend to get that more than men do. Men kind of just go, well, I'm going to fake it till I make it. Whereas women go, what if they figure out I'm faking it?
Absolutely. And again, it's who am I not to? Who am I to do all these things? Who are you not to? And it's that feeling the discomfort, but backing yourself anyway. And I know that imposter syndrome, it's a much bigger thing than that. But when we're feeling those little bits of self-doubt, sometimes it's the discomfort is where the magic happens. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a great place to be, because it keeps you growing and it keeps you working on yourself. So nothing wrong with it. We just need to face it head on. Yeah,
absolutely.
So Jess, you've had a couple of businesses in your life, and what the Unicorn Club is about is it's a safe place for brand new first-time business owners to get together and share some of the love, share some of the tears, and also share stories of their success and lessons that they've learned along the way. You've done quite a vast different types of businesses in your life, and you must have some sort of golden nuggets that you've learned along the way that you can share with our audience.
Yeah, so I think, unfortunately, I don't have a silver bullet, but I think if we're talking about those little nuggets, it's acknowledging what you're good at and leaning into that, but it's also about acknowledging what you're not good at, and then working out, okay, well, who can I partner with that's going to complement me on this? Or who can I reach out to, or who can support me? And even if it's not to specifically bring someone into your business, it's about having those people around you that are going to support you, that are going to, when you're feeling that self-doubt, that they're going to boost you up. And, I'm terrible at finances. You look at the bottom of my report and it's strategic and analytical and discipline, and I'm terrible at those, but I acknowledge it. I don't try to be what I'm not. I do the best that I can, but I outsource what I need to, and I leverage the people around me that I can. I have low ideation. I'm terrible at coming up with ideas. So I engage someone to help me with my marketing strategy, who helped me with ideas and the strategy. and I have someone who does my finance, and I'm part of an accountability group that helps me just be supported by the people that I need. So I think that would probably be my biggest thing. Know what you're good at and lean into it, and then know what you're not and surround yourself with the people that are.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's really important to not try and be everything to everyone, because that's when you get to a situation where you just feel yuck and you get burnt out, and it just, yeah, it's so hard to be alone as well.
Yeah, it's so hard. And I think it also, when you try to be everything in your business and wearing every hat, sometimes it's the reality of it, but I think it dilutes from the reason you got into business. It takes you away from the stuff that you really want to be doing, because you're trying to be everything else. And I think when you can acknowledge that and then work out what's the way forward that's going to mitigate that, I think you'll be a lot happier, because you'll spend more time in the space of what you created your business to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it is all about having fun along the way and making sure that you stay true to your passion and your purpose, and that you don't get caught up in just the busyness and the growth, and that you remember to have some fun along the way. So that's really important, because we do speak to a lot of women, especially, who just get so caught up in the daily grind on that hamster wheel, and eventually they just feel like they can't do it anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got to have that fun and those things that energize you as well. Otherwise, yeah, like you said, what's the point? You run out of energy, and then you can't move forward.
And you mentioned as well accountability circle, which you're part of Nick McClanahan's accountability circle, and as am I. And I just find that support is just absolutely phenomenal for me as my go-to when I'm doubting myself, when I'm not loving what I'm doing, when I'm feeling tired or stuck in a rut. There's always somebody there that's got an amazing sort of nugget of information that you need. So tapping into those networks and chatting to as many people as you can, and making sure that you don't fall into the trap of thinking that you need to know everything and figure it all out yourself.
Yeah, and I think there's a really important part in there that Nick has built so beautifully into Accountability Circle, is it's not just about having people who go, oh, that's okay, you'll do better next time. No. It's not that. They have your back, but if you're struggling with something, they're holding you accountable. They're saying, okay, well, you said you were going to do this. What have you done with it? So yes, they support you and they're there, but they're definitely not letting you make excuses or making excuses for you. And I think that's why it's such an empowering group of women to have around you, because they hold you to such a high standard, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, totally agree. Jess, we're going to wrap up, but I just wanted, before we wrap up, can you just give us a sort of a final talk about your strengths and how you use them in your daily sort of, how can you use them to really help propel you forward and to change your experience of first time setting up your business?
Yeah, I think, again, I'd revert back to that idea of understand and leverage what you're really good at, because that's the stuff that energizes you. And I think if you, like I said, your strengths report, it shouldn't tell you anything you didn't know about yourself. It aims to bring it to your awareness. And that's a point that you can go, oh, actually, I am really good at this. How can I leverage that? So to give a really quick example, my number one strength is input. Input is all about collecting and archiving information and having this craving to know more. And I've always known this about myself, but until I ran my strengths report, I certainly didn't have a word for it, but I actually didn't see it as a strength, as anything special that could be harnessed. And I remember feeling so seen and so understood when I first read through my report, and I was like, oh my God, this is me. This is a strength. This is something that I can really harness. And as soon as I did that, and as soon as I worked on understanding how can I tap into this natural talent and this natural pattern of thinking that I've got, suddenly I was amplifying this, talent that I had never tapped into. And, I could give you 10 examples that I've done that for each of my top strengths. So I definitely think that there's a lot of value in doing the report, but also doing something with it. So don't just run the report and look and go, oh yeah, that's interesting. It's about what you do with it, because you can have the world's best tool, and then if you do it and read it and go, that was fun, and stick it in your bottom drawer, nothing's going to come from it.
And it's also about understanding it. So when I ran the report, I had no understanding of how to use it and what to do with it and what it meant. So that's the power of having somebody like you actually explaining it and running a session to go through, well, what does this actually mean and how do I use it in my daily life?
Yeah, it's like a lot of things in business. Quite often the power is in the conversation that you can have with it. And I think, again, it's why surround yourself with the right people, and you can, that's when you can tap into those extra things that maybe are there, but you're not doing anything with them at the moment.
And how do people get hold of you to schedule a meeting or to get one of these sessions for themselves?
Yeah, so my company's called Human Tribe. So I'm on LinkedIn as Human Tribe, humantribe.com.au. Otherwise, my LinkedIn is Jess Weiss, Weiss, or I'm sure that they could find me through you, because we're connected as well, Tania. And yeah, if anyone's watching this and you sort of think that sounds good, but where do I go from here? Let's have, I'm high communication, so let's have a conversation and we'll see what we can do from there.
Great. I'll put some notes in the YouTube channel as well to make sure that they can find you. Jess, it's been awesome talking to you. Thank you so much. And
Thanks so much for having me.
Let's hope that this is useful to, I'm sure it will be very useful to our entrepreneurs out there that are thinking about starting their business and sitting on the fence thinking, oh my God, I don't know where to start. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Tania.